Hey everyone, my name is Nathan Zayden and I'm a second year psychology student at the University of New England. Today I'll be talking to you about choking in sports. Different emotional factors such as pressure of competition can often play a critical role in the creation of internal sources of distraction. This is often referred to as choking. Choking, which is defined as a critical deterioration in execution of habitual processes as a result of elevation in anxiety levels under perceived pressure, and this leads to substandard performance. There are a number of different mechanisms of choking. The first one is distraction. So instead of focusing on the relevant cues in your environment, like the ball or the opponent's movements, you start focusing on your own worries and fears of losing as your attention becomes narrow and internal. The second one is anxiety, perceived control. So we feel like we can't control what we normally could, inadequate control, and self-focus. The consequences of these are a reduction in performance, self-critical, so they criticise their own performance, and lowered self-confidence. There are a few different ways that people attempt to explain why choking happens, and these are referred to as models. The first one is the distraction model, which is the interference with task concentration, shifting attention to task irrelevant, so they can't perform because their mind is on other things. And there's the self-focus model, so anxiety affects automatic execution. They monitor and think about the action happening, and this can have a detrimental effect on performance. Probably the best example of choking, or the moment getting to an athlete's mind, is from last year's NRL Grand Final when Ben Hunt dropped the ball off the kickoff in extra time. Now, before that ball was kicked, he'd probably caught about 10,000 of those in his life. He was having a great season, but the moment got to him, the pressure of 80,000 people screaming got to him, and he just dropped the ball and ultimately lost his team the grand final. There are a few different ways that athletes try to prevent choking from happening before the event even starts. So this could be through a pre-performance routine, such as putting your left boot on before your right boot, which they've done since they were little kids. It could be through mental or imagery rehearsal, so just going over through what they've got to do, what's going to happen through their head, and just making them feel better. Or it could come down to something as little as listening to music, just sitting back and chilling out, and not worrying too much before the event actually starts. Another way that athletes try to stop choking is through coping. Coping, which is a process of constantly changing cognitive and behavioural states to manage specific internal or external demands or conflicts that exceed one's resources or abilities. A way to do this is through problem-focused coping, which is efforts to alter or manage the problems that are causing stress. Emotion-focused coping, which is regulating the emotional responses to the problem that causes stress. Approach coping, or the processes of actively dealing with a perceived problem, and avoidance coping, directing attention away from the threat-related stimulus. This helps an athlete put their mind at ease and hopefully helps them perform better when the event comes around. A good example of an athlete coping with choking in sports would be LeBron James. He has often been criticised for not having the strongest mind and has lost a few big games and not performed under big moments. So what he did was 2 years ago, he went out and got a sports psychology coach just to focus on his mind because he's always had the athletic ability. And this year, last year he made the NBA finals but lost, although he did perform very well. And this year he actually won the NBA finals and also won the finals MVP, which shows what coping with choking can do for you. Whilst choking will always be a problem in sports, it's the athletes who look for different ways to cope with it and different methods to help them put their mind at ease and perform better under the big moments that will always be a cut above the rest. So yeah, that wraps up my presentation. Thank you for listening and goodbye.